Hey, did you know those jeans you're wearing took 1,800 gallons of water to make? And those sneakers, they may be out of style in 6 months, but they'll live in a landfill for over 500 years. How is the fashion industry responding? Let's find out. Today on Blank Canvas, we're talking about the Passionates, a rapidly growing consumer group who make their decisions based upon their values and principles. The Passionates won't buy from, work for, or trust a company unless they're taking action on the issues the Passionates care about. Issues like climate change, sustainability, waste, and social justice. And thanks to social media, they know about everything, from supply chains to the treatment of employees, to what a CEO wears when she takes the kids for ice cream. And yes, it's a fanny pack. The Passionates are not only the most loyal customer base, but more than half of them are millennials and Gen Z, so the future of business depends on them. Welcome to Blank Canvas. Today, we're talking about how environmentally conscious Passionates are changing fashion. And in case you weren't sure why the fashion industry needs to change, let's take a look at some nasty numbers. According to a 2018 Footwear study, 88% of consumers want fashion brands to help them be more environmentally friendly. Fashion production releases 10% of the world's carbon emissions, more than international flights and maritime shipping combined. In other words, sitting on your couch in your pajamas for 5 hours might actually be worse for the environment than flying from Paris to Ibiza. And you wouldn't even have a sunburn and a frozen mango-rita to show for it, so what's the point? According to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, the industry will produce 26% of the world's carbon footprint by 2050, and is also responsible for 20% of the water pollution in the world. And now, it's time for the nastiest number of them all, 84. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, that's the percentage of clothes in America that end up in a landfill. Thank you, Marie Kondo. You know what doesn't bring me joy? Mountains of trash. With numbers that nasty, no wonder 100% of the Passionates are giving fashion a timeout. So we're gonna look at how some brands are pushing for big changes in the industry. Let's start from the bottom. I'm talking about footwear. Sustainability has been the buzzword in the shoe industry for a few years now, partially because of companies like Allbirds. On its website, the San Francisco-based company talks about working to fully eliminate its carbon footprint by measuring first the emissions of everything from its raw materials to the end of its shoe's life. Imagine a shoe without a footprint. Finally, footwear suitable for ninjas. And as for those raw materials, the company's website reveals that its laces are made out of recycled bottles and its shoe soles out of sugarcane. But do not try to eat the shoe soles, especially after walking around New York for a few hours. That's a whole nother type of nasty. And in April of 2019, Adidas's website announced the Future Craft Loop, which is the first performance running shoe designed for a circular life cycle. When you're done with it, you actually ship it back to them. They recycle it and turn it into new shoes. Every parent in the world is like, finally, a shoe that fights waste and growth spurts. While we're on the subject of the circular economy, I wanted to look at how one small technology company is working to change the fashion industry forever. A software startup named Eon has partnered with several major retailers and organizations to use its software platform to establish a global standard for sharing information about fashion products. It's called Circular ID. Eon's founder and CEO, Natasha Franck, is here with us to tell me more about it. Natasha, welcome to Blank Canvas.
Thank you so much for having me.
Natasha, can you tell us about the founding principles of Eon and its commitment to a sustainable future?
At Eon, we power connected products, and our vision is to unlock a circular future for commerce across fashion and retail, to enable fashion and retail to transition to a fully circular economy.
Now, sustainable fashion has become a hot-button topic in the world of fashion retail. Why do you think this has become more important to consumers?
I think people want to wear things that represent their values. Today, a brand can only make more money when they sell 2 products instead of 1. Now, how can we make it possible for brands to monetize a product again and again such that they're incentivized to make better lasting, longer lasting, and more durable and circular products?
Can you tell us about circular ID and how it works towards making the fashion industry more sustainable?
So if you think about it, in the supply chain, products have a barcode, and that makes it possible to manage that product. And now once that product is sold, there's no way to track that product ongoing through its life cycle, meaning there's no way to ID that product for resale. There's no way to ID that product and know the material content for recycling. And you can't recycle a material if you don't know what it's made of. So basically, what the Circular ID protocol outlines is all of the essential data that you need to put on a product in order for that product to be able to have a circular life cycle. So for example, exactly what material content is that product? What is the thread type? What is the content of the zipper? What is the original resale price? Because that affects the re-commerce value.
That sounds great. I want that world. I want that world right now. Sustainability is clearly something we all need to be focused on for the future of the only planet we're able to live on in such large numbers. So what tip would you give to people who wanted to be more efficient and have an impact in fashion?
I think it's incredibly exciting to see how much consumer behavior changes the decisions of brands. And so as consumers are adopting new business models, we are seeing brands launch new circular business models. As a consumer, I encourage you to purchase re-commerce, purchase reuse, purchase sustainable brands. People want to see change, and we're seeing that in consumption patterns. Consumers are really adopting circular models, which is incredibly exciting.
Natasha, thank you so much for your time, for the work Eon is doing, and for bringing this circular ID model into the world.
Honored to be here. Thank you so much.
Technology is changing the industry thanks to companies like Eon. And we've seen how the footwear industry is trying to get the passionates on their side. So let's move up the body to jeans. Denim, it's notorious for requiring huge amounts of water. But in 2011, Levi's introduced a new collection called Waterless that uses up to 96% less water. And the company is working toward 100% sustainably sourced cotton and recycling old jeans into home insulation. So that means your house may have a bunch of forgotten $20 bills in the walls. Now, let's move up to high fashion. I'm talking Gucci, y'all. According to the company's Equilibrium sustainability strategy, Gucci is in the midst of an ambitious plan to reduce its overall environmental impact by 40% and greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by the year 2025. The brand has already eliminated animal fur in all of its products and made drastic changes to reduce its leather footprint using traceability and alternative tanning methods. The brand plans to be 100% metal and chrome free in the tanning process by 2025. You go, Gucci. Now that we've completed our outfit, let's take time to talk to a fashion industry insider to learn more. And nobody knows more about fashion than supermodel, entrepreneur, influencer, philanthropist, and founder of Code with Klossy, Karlie Kloss. Karlie, welcome to Blank Canvas.
Thank you so much for having me, Baratunde.
As a supermodel, you've seen the industry from all angles. Now let's talk about sustainable fashion, one of the biggest trends in the fashion world.
When I first started my career 15 years ago, it was a niche conversation. And now the consumer is demanding that the industry solves this problem. It's really going to take a collective shift of the fashion industry at scale to embrace more sustainable practices. Dyeing fabrics is a huge polluter of water. Having better working conditions for the production of garments is a huge conversation. And again, that kind of transparency is enabled because of social media. People are demanding that.
What do you look for when you're buying products?
The lens that I have when I'm shopping is, if I buy this, am I gonna get really the wear out of this? And so that's one aspect, one lens. And I think becoming aware of the designers that are really working with sustainable fabrics and thinking about this in the way that they produce is something that I, as a consumer, really value. The first step is really informing people about the reality of this problem and the reality of, our everyday choices of whether to buy one thing or another, and how that plays into the bigger conversation.
Karlie, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really informative and really inspiring.
So happy that you're using your platform and this show to bring light to this, so thank you.
We're almost out of time. And while we couldn't unfill the landfills today, we've seen how the passionates are pushing the fashion industry for positive environmental changes. A lot of people, they don't think their individual choices make an impact. And to some degree, they're right. At least not the size of impact we need to make a real difference. Alone, your choices don't drive those big changes. But if we put the planet first when making buying decisions, then we can create lasting change together. Because it's together, well, that's how we got this. I'll see you next time on Blank Canvas.